Between 2019 and 2022, over 300,000 accountants and auditors left the U.S. workforce. This is a permanent structural shift that is fracturing the industry's domestic capabilities and altering the global job market. The baseline size of this industry is massive. In 2024, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics recorded approximately 1.58 million employed accountants and auditors. Over the next decade, that baseline is set to expand by 5%, translating to 124,200 projected annual openings through 2034. This six-figure requirement is driven largely by replacement needs. Professionals are retiring, hollowing out the workforce. With domestic capacity failing to backfill these roles, U.S. firms are aggressively looking outward, creating a sustained, high-value opening for skilled global talent. Currently, roughly 75% of licensed U.S. CPAs are at or within 15 years of retirement age. As these senior practitioners step away, they take decades of institutional knowledge with them. These are complex mid to senior level gaps that cannot be patched simply by hiring domestic entry-level staff. Even if firms wanted to rapidly hire domestically, the pipeline is restricted by the strict 150-hour education rule. Earning a U.S. CPA credential requires a fifth year of university, adding significant tuition costs and delaying workforce entry. Consequently, the domestic talent pool is shrinking. U.S. accounting graduates have hit a 20-year low, and the number of CPA exam candidates has dropped by 43%. Cost and management accountants possess rigorous analytical training. They bring deep expertise in cost control, budgeting, and performance analysis. Yet, knowing how to analyze financial performance in India does not translate to immediate employability for a U.S. firm. The financial reporting frameworks and regulatory languages are distinctly different. The primary technical bridge is U.S. GAAP. Indian accounting knowledge requires a supplementary layer, mapping to the authoritative FASB accounting standards codification. This means mastering treatments for high-friction topics like revenue recognition under ASC 606 and leases under ASC 842, where presentation requirements diverge. A functioning understanding of U.S. federal taxation is also necessary, particularly the distinctions in payroll accounting, such as classifying a W-2 employee versus a 1099 independent contractor. U.S. employers do not have the time to teach basic accounting principles. They require professionals who have proactively built this compatibility layer and are ready to interface with U.S. regulations. Theoretical regulatory knowledge must translate to operational capability. Understanding U.S. GAAP is meaningless unless you can independently navigate a U.S. client's books. This requires executing a complete accounting workflow. The process begins with source documents, transaction recording, and precise bank reconciliations. The cycle culminates at the month-end close, involving adjusting entries, the general ledger, and producing the profit and loss, balance sheet, and cash flow statements. Every step of this workflow happens within a specific digital ecosystem. For the vast majority of small to medium U.S. businesses, proficiency in QuickBooks Online is an absolute prerequisite. Scaling up to handle enterprise clients introduces platforms like NetSuite, Xero, and Bill.com, alongside the necessity for advanced Excel skills for scheduling and financial analysis. Software fluency is non-negotiable. These platforms execute the heavy lifting of data entry, allowing the professional to apply critical accounting judgment to complex transactions. Capturing a major share of this massive U.S. demand does not require physical relocation or an H-1B visa. Delivery models have evolved. U.S. firms are aggressively expanding their global capability centers and partnering with offshore outsourcing organizations to embed Indian teams directly into their daily operations. Cloud accounting platforms and asynchronous communication tools also enable direct employment and independent freelance arrangements across time zones. Technology-enabled integration means a professional's physical location is irrelevant to the economic value they generate for a U.S. client. The objective is to engineer a highly specific professional profile designed for cross-border accounting delivery. It begins with an Indian CMAs financial foundation, adding U.S. GAAP for stateside standards. Next is the operational layer, practical U.S. bookkeeping, software proficiency, and U.S. tax fundamentals. Finally, clear communication and managing client relationships across time zones completes the profile, creating a global-ready CMA. This specific stack of capabilities is what transforms a locally qualified accountant into a highly sought-after asset in the international market. Preparation is sequential. Phase 1 requires understanding the U.S. accounting ecosystem, U.S. GAAP, and financial statements. Phase 2 is operational, learning U.S. bookkeeping, month-end closing, QuickBooks, Excel, and payroll tax rules. Finally, Phase 3 is execution, refining communication, case studies, and building a portfolio. A demonstrable portfolio of executed workflows proves your practical capability to a U.S. employer far more effectively than a standard resume. Assess your own readiness right now. Have you prepared U.S. financial statements? Can you confidently navigate QuickBooks? Do you know the functional difference between a W-2 and a 1099? Ultimately, you must ask yourself, what are the exact top 5 skills a U.S. accounting employer expects from an international hire today? The domestic shortage in the United States is real, and the opportunities are rapidly expanding. But those roles will only go to professionals willing to build the specific technical architecture required to claim them.